Дорогі українці та українки.
Fellow Ukrainians, dear people, today is Ukraine's Independence Day. I am here now, in the heart of Kyiv, on Independence Square, and it is here that one can feel most clearly what independence means, why it matters so much to us, and why the Maidan is far more than just the main square of our country, because it is a symbol of independence, its guardian. This is the place where history is always being made, where the energy and strength of our people are born whenever our independence is under threat. And now, during this full-scale war for independence, here, on the Maidan, we find the most important symbols. Symbols of how we fight, why we fight, and how we are overcoming this war. These symbols are all around us, in the Independence Monument. Inside, it has a reinforced concrete frame, strong enough to withstand a hurricane. Just like our Ukraine, which has withstood the great evil Russia brought to our land. In this 0-kilometer marker, the starting point from which the distances to Ukrainian cities are measured, to our Donetsk, our Luhansk, our Crimea. Today, these markers carry a new meaning. They are no longer just about kilometers. They remind us that all of this is Ukraine. That our people are there, and no distance, no temporary occupation can change that. And one day, that distance will disappear, and we will again be together as one family, as one country. It is only a matter of time. And Ukraine believes it can achieve this, achieve peace across our land. Ukraine is capable of this, because Ukraine has character, a rock-solid resilience, a gaze we never avert, and hands burned by fire and time, but still strong. Hands that hold the shield and defend what is ours. Our land, our culture, our 1,000-year history, proof of which are the founders of Kyiv. And we defend our future, for which our heroes gave their lives. Names we will never forget and never betray. Names that defended independence. And here, on the Maidan, Ukrainians have often bid farewell to heroes. And everyone who has been to such a farewell even once, and everyone who has lost someone in this war, carries a personal account with Russia forever, and has sworn never to forget their heroes. That vow is embodied in this field of national memory, a field of great power, because in every small flag there is someone's great story, a deed and a choice for Ukraine, for the future, for freedom in peace, and peace in freedom. This philosophy is reflected in our culture by the image of the Cossack Mamai, who, having gained his freedom, can set aside his weapon and take up the kobza, keeping the saber nearby, just in case, but returning to peaceful civilian life. That is what we all long for, and we know no one will ever give it to us. It can only be won. And that is exactly what we have been doing for 1,278 days of this war. The war for independence. For each of those days, I want to thank you, Ukrainian soldiers, Ukrainian volunteers, doctors, rescuers, teachers, our youth, our parents, every Ukrainian man and woman. Thank you all for what we have already endured, and for the Ukraine we are building together, for the Ukraine that already exists today, the Ukraine that came of age on February 24th, that took its fate into its own hands, that took up arms, that had no time to hesitate and no right to be afraid, and that truly stopped the world's second army. You know the phrase, "take Kyiv in 3 days," has become a meme. The truth is that in more than 1,000 days of war, Russia has failed to capture more than 1% of our land. And we will keep saying this. We must, because it destroys the myth of the invincible Russian army. We have proved it. We keep proving it now. Each of us, in our place. Everyone who carries independence within. Everyone who defends our right to be Ukrainians, through their work, their deeds, their achievements. Today, independence is being forged on the battlefield. Independence guards our skies each night. It saves lives in hospitals. It extinguishes fires. It teaches. Independence works around the clock at defense plants. Because it is vital that our soldiers have everything they need. That independence has everything it needs to defend itself. Independence is behind the wheel, on the road to those who need help. Independence fights in the ring, on global stages and arenas where Ukrainians perform. It is in the pages of books, in the lines of poems Ukrainians write. When the enemy says to us every day, there is no such state, no such nation. And when we prove the opposite every day, we prove that Ukrainians exist, and Ukrainians will remain on this land, on this square, where in 100 years our future generations will stand. And in 100 years they will celebrate here Ukraine's Independence Day. So it will be. Because today, Ukraine is different. Ukraine is stronger and respects itself. And Ukraine no longer waits for gestures of goodwill, but has its own will to do what we need. When Russia tries to seize Sumy region, our armed forces appear in Kursk region. When the enemy strikes our energy system, trying to leave us without light and heat, their oil refineries go up in flames, and no one can forbid us such strikes, because that is justice striking back. Just as when Russia attacks us every day, our peaceful cities, hospitals, schools, killing civilians, killing our children, in return it receives spider web, and that too is justice striking. That is how Ukraine strikes when its calls for peace are ignored. How many times have we offered a ceasefire? How many times have we said, we want silence, we seek peace? But peace must be dignified and comprehensive. That is why we count on the strength of the entire world. That is why we do not believe in Russian doves of peace. That is why we will rely on Ukrainian flamingos. This is the Ukraine of today, and this Ukraine will never again in history be forced into the shame that the Russians call compromise. We need a just peace. Our future is for us alone to decide. And the world knows this. And the world respects this. The world respects Ukraine. It treats Ukraine as an equal. Ukraine that can, in just one day, rally and unite the leaders of the world around it. Ukraine that America and the whole world wants to develop drones with. Ukraine that restored unity between Europe and the United States and is now the foundation of that alliance. Ukraine that stands its ground and can stand up for itself. And that is why Ukraine is heard, why Ukraine is respected, why people listen to it. Its place is at the table, not waiting outside the door, being told instead, the decision is yours. This is the Ukraine I had the honor to represent just a week ago in the United States. Today, both the US and Europe agree Ukraine has not yet won, but it has certainly not lost. Ukraine has won its independence. Ukraine is not a victim, it is a fighter. Ukraine is not begging, it is offering. Offering alliance and partnership, offering the best army in Europe, advanced defense technologies, the experience of resilience. We say, we need the EU. Yes, but it needs us no less. And everyone acknowledges this. And this is how they recognize Ukraine. Not as a poor relative, but as a strong ally. That is what the coalition of the willing is about. That is what Washington was about. About this and about how to ensure a lasting, reliable, enduring peace. Ukraine will achieve it because it will secure security guarantees strong enough that no one in the world will ever even think of attacking Ukraine again. This is not only our goal, it is what we want and must pass on to our children and grandchildren. A strong Ukraine, an equal Ukraine, a European Ukraine, an independent Ukraine. To finally break the vicious circles of history, where every generation lacked something to preserve independence, and each new generation was forced to fight again, to defend itself, to reclaim freedom. We must not pass that on to our descendants. We are building a Ukraine with enough strength and power to live in security and peace, so that here, on this square, on our Independence Square, under our flags, on our land, our children and grandchildren will celebrate Independence Day in peace, in calm, with confidence in the future, with respect and gratitude to all who defended Ukraine in this war, the war for independence, to those who stood firm, who endured, who won. For such a goal it is worth living, for this we stand. Happy holiday to you, great people of a great country. Happy Independence Day. Glory to Ukraine.